Good evening. Welcome to the October 2nd State of the Schools agenda meeting tonight. I appreciate everyone coming, and I hope you find the meeting tonight very informational. So we've got a lot of administrators here, and I'm grateful that all of you were able to come tonight. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. In lieu of Veronica, Kevin is going to take roll call, please.
Mr. Ratliff?
Here.
Mr. Weibling?
Here.
Ms. Dyer?
Here.
Ms. McKay?
Here. Thank you. And at this point, I'm going to turn this meeting over to Olympia De La Flora, our superintendent, and everyone is going to be presenting tonight, so there won't be questions or anything. It's just purely informational tonight. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you to President McKay and to Marion City School Board members. Good evening. It is my pleasure to be here with you. This is actually my second State of the Schools, first as superintendent. It's really something that, as we're putting this presentation together, you want to think about the things that we want to highlight that we're doing well in Marion City Schools. So tonight, you're going to hear from our departments and from all of our schools, and they were charged to pick out things that they want to show, things that they have achieved over the past year that they want to share, also some of the new things that they're doing in their departments and schools, and then what their focus areas will be. We all know that we still have a lot of work to do, but one of the things that we're focusing on this year is joy and making sure that we also don't neglect to recognize the wonderful things that are happening in Marion City Schools. So I'll be starting off this evening. We will come up, my staff will come up, they will introduce themselves when they come, and they will share their information. I want to start with the mission of Marion City Schools. Hopefully we all know that it is inspiring a community of achievement. And I'd like to open tonight with just giving some definitions of what that means. To inspire means to fill someone with urge or ability to do or feel something, and especially to do something creative. A community can be defined as a group of people living in the same place or having a particular characteristic in common. It can be a feeling of fellowship with others as a result of sharing common attitudes, interests, and goals. And last but not least, achievement. This is what public schools are about. This is what Marion City Schools is about. It is a thing done successfully, typically by effort, courage, or skill. Achievement can be defined in many ways. We can look at academic achievement. We can look at students who are overcoming mental health challenges. We can look at social emotional achievement. We can look at achievement of being a successful citizen in the Marion community and beyond. So it is with great pleasure that I introduce my team as we inspire a community of achievement. And I will have Assistant Superintendent Kevin Hayner come up.
Crinkle, crinkle.
I'm going to share with you tonight, board members, our goals for this school year. Goal number 1, by June 2024, Marion City Schools will increase its English Language Arts, ELA, performance index by 10% of the long-term gap. Our goal number 2, by June 2024, Marion City Schools will increase its math performance index by 10% of the long-term gap. Goal 3, by June of 2024, Marion City Schools will decrease the number of days students do not have access to instruction, including in-school suspension, out-of-school suspensions, and decrease chronic absenteeism by 5%. Our fourth goal, by the end of the 23-24 school year, the district will intentionally build and communicate a network of internal and external resources which address the healthy, tenet of the whole child, whole educator to improve the score on the ASCD school improvement tool to a 3.5 or better.
Good evening. I am Greg Menzie, Achievement and Accountability Supervisor, and I'm going to go over the ODE's local report card that was released in mid-September. So you can see there are 6 components that are kind of graded on the local report card, and it uses star ratings. 3 stars is the state standard for each of the components. For achievement, that component looks at the performance index of all Ohio State tests from 3rd through 8th grade and the end of course exams at the high school level. For that one, we received 2 stars. Progress looks at the growth of students from previous performances to the current test that they took, and this year it included 2 years worth of data, 67% from last year and 33% from the year before, and it's going to work its way up to including 3 years of data. And for that one this past year we got 2 stars as well. Gap closing, this is the one that I talked about a little last time, where it looks at several different indicators on closing the gap of student performance. Some of them that are included are ELA achievement and growth, math achievement and growth, graduation rate, English learner proficiency, gifted achievement and growth, and chronic absenteeism. And for this one, we did meet the state standard of 3 stars. Graduation rate looks at a 4-year rate and a 5-year rate, and then it weights those 2 percentages and gives you an overall rating, which we also got 3 stars. Early literacy looks at 3 different components. It looks at the proficiency of the 3rd graders on the reading achievement test. On the Ohio State test, looks at that reading subscore. It also looks at improving K-3 literacy, where it's looking at students who were considered off track based on their diagnostic test to where they landed on the next diagnostic the next year. And in 3rd grade, it looks at that diagnostic to where they land on the Ohio State test. And the 3rd component is the promotion to 4th grade, looking at the percentage of our students who were promoted to 4th grade with one of the opportunities they have in order to be promoted. And for that one, we got the 1 star that you can see. College, career, workforce, and military readiness. This one is not figured into the overall yet until at least at the earliest, the 2024-2025 school year. But this one looks at how our high school students are being prepared for life after high school, like military enlistment, their ACT scores, credentials, that kind of information for how ready they are for after high school. And then our overall, go back a slide for a second, just at the top, this year they did give an overall rating, and it's based on all of the components below. So it took those 5 components and figured out points, and then that gave us a 2.5 star rating. With that, achievement and progress are weighted the heaviest for figuring out the overall star rating. So achievements from our local report card from last year, we did get the 3 stars in gap closing and graduation rate, as I said. Chronic absenteeism, which goes into gap closing, improved by 12.4%, so that was a tremendous improvement in that key aspect of getting kids to school. And then we also had 3 stars in the progress component for the overall composite value added for our gifted students and our students with disabilities. and that was for a single year and also for their multi-year growth. And then for our 23-24 focus areas, as Mr. Hayner said in our goals, we have the gap closing performance index for all students in ELA and math, and that was what I talked about last board meeting. And then we also have the goal for chronic absenteeism of improving that by 5%.
Thank you, Greg. I'm Sam McMasters, the Director of Teaching and Learning, and I have Marcia Pitts.
And I'm Marcia Pitts. I'm the College and Career Pathway Supervisor.
So we're excited tonight to share with you some of the achievements of the Teaching and Learning Department. I do have to say that I'm very proud of being part of this team who has come together to be collective problem solvers, to collaborate with one another and with our buildings to make sure that we continue to move forward and create the best Marion City Schools that we can. Some of our achievements over the past year, there were a lot of updates with ORC requirements for curriculum. Lisa worked on that last year. Jen has gone through and made sure that we are in compliance with all of the ORC requirements and that we have plans in place to meet those expectations and continue to monitor them. On our report card, we did earn the 5 points for English language progress for our English language learners. So it's you earn the 5 points or you don't. We met that criteria for this past year, which was also an improvement from previous years. The use of our district-wide translation services doubled this past year, indicating that we have provided additional access for families to communicate and partner with our schools who are not native English speakers. We do have 89 gifted providers across the district. That's one of the highest percentages of staff that I've seen in districts. We work very hard to train our teachers, to provide them opportunities, and they have stepped up and participated in that over the course of the last year. And then we have completed a year as a whole child pilot district in partnership with our Student Services Department, and you saw some of that work previously that we had done last year.
And then the teaching and learning team is very intentional and visible in every building. If you go out into the elementary, middle school, and high school, you will see members of our team stopping in classrooms or working with administrators. We also introduced the teacher-led professional learning called Lead, Inspire, Learn, which provides opportunities for teachers to lead professional development after school hours, and then allows others to come in and sign up for the PD. We had 113 students in our career tech education programs that earned industry-recognized credentials, some of those being in the areas of welding, these are all in-demand jobs in the area. CompTIA, which is an IT credential that we have students getting, and then certified logistic technicians and certified production technicians, which are in advanced manufacturing. We had our first ever summer farm camp here at the Harding Micro Farm, where our 5th graders were able to attend a week-long summer camp here. And then we had the opening of the student-led Harding Brew Coffee Shop, which is part of our marketing program here at Harding. So the last two were both recognized by the Chamber of Commerce and also by the Ohio Governor's Office for our implementation of those two programs.
So those were a few of our highlights. I'm going to introduce Krista Denninger and Jen Womack are going to talk about some of the things that are happening right now and our focuses for this year.
And good evening. What you see in front of you is a sampling of our elementary classrooms and the number corner curriculum that all K-5 are using this year. All of the math coaches and teachers have done a fabulous job of receiving this material, organizing it, and finally implementing it. So they would, I think, welcome you into their classrooms to see it in action. It's very engaging for our students. And it has a really nice cadence of instruction every day. Also with the math curriculum, we are early implementers in 2 classrooms per elementary for the Bridges math curriculum, and we will be moving towards that next year as well. So there's some really great connections we're seeing for that now with our number corner and Bridges. This year we've got math instructional coaches in our elementaries, and again, they really have done a fabulous job so far this year of supporting teachers and principals in new curriculum across Marion City schools. We hosted our first annual open house for multilingual families. So our EL teachers did a fabulous job organizing that here and supporting our families in our community.
So with the dyslexia legislation, there's 3 different components to that. The first being the professional learning component, and for this year, all of our K-1 teachers have to have at least 18 hours of professional development, and all of our teachers did get that prior to the start of the school year. By the end of this school year, all of our 2nd and 3rd grade teachers will have that as well too. They have to have that prior to September 15th of next year. And then we're starting to work on all of our 4 to 12 intervention specialists getting that training as well. Some of them have already gone through it, but we have some who have not gone through that yet. And with that, they have to have that by September 15th of 2025. Also, within the dyslexia legislation, this is the first year where we are mandated to screen students for characteristics of dyslexia. So this past fall, we screened all of our students in 1st through 5th grade. And for those who are displaying characteristics of dyslexia, we have specific interventions in place for them. Our kindergarten students will get screened in winter time in January for that. And then next year for the legislation, it's only kindergarten students who need to be screened. The other component of the dyslexia legislation is that we are to provide a pathway to certification for teachers. And last year we were able to start the certification process for a middle school teacher and a high school teacher. And this year, we have the opportunity for 3 of our elementary teachers to start that certification there. So for Go Guardian there, that's implemented this year. That's a new filter, security filter for our computers, and it's a way to create that safer learning environment for our students. We also looking at CASEL, which is a collaborative for the academic SEL components, and we are a community network partner district with 38 other districts across the county. So we have a lot of collaboration and opportunities with that. At the high school, the construction and welding programs were moved back to the Harding campus. They also added a robotics course in the hopes to expand that into a pathway as well. And a driver's education course is there in the after-school program as well.
Focus areas for us for the 23-24 school year. Number 1 is fidelity of implementation of our Tier 1 curriculum. So we have some great resources and curriculums, and we know we have a very talented teaching staff, so we're going to be visible and supportive and make sure that our teams are able to implement that curriculum for all that it has to offer to our students. We are going to continue to be intentional with the opportunities to highlight our internal experts through professional learning and networking, whether that's on our professional learning days that we have dedicated to staff or after school opportunities, book studies, and other things. We have really amazing people with a lot of different areas of expertise that can share with us. And we have an emphasis this year on the Ohio improvement process and alignment between those 3 acronyms you see there, the TBT, the BLT, and the DLT. So making sure our communication flows all directions within those teams for us.
So this year, we're also going to focus on that whole child and whole educator, as you saw in one of those goals at the beginning of the presentation. And then we also are looking, this is our last year for our CLSD grant, which we had for birth through K and 6 through 8. So we are in the process of looking at some of that programming that was funded through the grant and looking at the costs and seeing what are we going to be able to carry on next year. For example, like, for the preschool, that summer literacy camp, what are the costs associated with that? What data are we getting from that? Is that something we're going to continue next year after we are done with that grant? And then also looking at MTSS, we're just kind of refining that multi-tier system as a support, making sure we have clear connections between our Tier 1 instruction to our Tier 2 instruction and our Tier 3 instruction, making sure that they all flow together and they're not separate from one another as well too.
Good evening. I'm Julie Kenny, Director of Personnel. I'd like to talk to you about HR. When you think about HR, you think about people-oriented business, right? But we also work in the realm of enhancing our district culture, nourishing our staff performance, and boosting our team collaboration. So as pointed out in a previous board meeting, we talked about staff turnover rate. We really have worked to improve our retention, and that is evidenced by meeting part of that pillar goal from last year. And we're working to implement our remedies from the findings of the equity audit. Some things that are new in 2023, the laws are always changing and adapting. And so RESA is now a 2-year program for new teachers. That is when a teacher gets graduated from college and they come with a 2-year license. It used to be a 4-year program before they could get their 5-year professional license. Now it's down to a 2-year program. So we've made some changes in that program. Our teacher licensure bands, according to ODE, are returning to 2 different bands. Right now they're PK through 3, 4 through 9, 7 through 12. Now they're just 2 bands, the PK 8 and 6 through 12. Hopefully that'll help us with our licensing and hiring of individuals. There's a pre-service teacher permit now available for college students, so we want to work with our area colleges in the vicinity to work on getting our student teachers time for to work as subs too, so we can do that in dual capacity on days that they're not student teaching. There's a new license being offered for industry professionals to teach computer science courses, and there's some money coming from the State Department that may be attached to that. We're working to establish our employee resource groups. And then I mentioned the final bullets are some House bills that are on the horizon or in various stages of being approved. And you might think, like, what does that have to do with human resources? But those all have impacts in different capacities as far as staff that we work with and children too. So the last thing on the bullet is Title IX training. We're trying to really emphasize the importance of that and differentiate that title versus Title VII, Title VI, and different other titles that the district is involved with. And so making sure that we're in alignment with the federal requirement and also that our staff knows what to do in the case of potential violation. I'd like to introduce Johnny Jackson to come on up and talk about diversity, equity, and inclusion.
Thank you, Dr. Kinney. This year we started off our year really considering what did it look like to frame joy in the work that we do as staff members, but then also how our students were experiencing joy in the classroom. So that's one of our focuses, and I want to give a really big shout out to Ray Levinson, who coordinates our new teacher network. She's done a really good job the last 2 years making sure new teachers get access to staff members who are talking about social emotional learning, diversity, also any different programming like the curriculum aspects that Jen Wellman was talking about, dyslexia legislation that Krista Deniger was talking about. That point of entry for our new staff members, it allows them almost like a professional development and also a connection to our district. Also, what Dr. Kinney mentioned around the remedies, we were really looking at the communication styles that we have this year, making sure that we can help out in buildings, but then we can also support diversity, equity, and inclusion. I know that George Washington has some really good bias training coming up, moving from bias to belonging to bravery. That's been something that we've been working on. And the last thing that I'll mention, our MCS, Joy Pass It On. Weekly, we've been highlighting the different stakeholders of joy in our buildings through almost like a bingo style drawing that we have. And we believe that that's really going to drive our culture here when we can share the excellent things that we're doing, and then we can also make sure that we challenge the good things, challenge the things that we need to improve on. And next, I'll pass the mic to operations.
Good evening, I'm Jay Crowd, Director of Operations, and we'll talk the facility side of things. Some of the achievements from this year were the parking lots at Grant and Garfield we were able to resurface. Exterior roof restoration at Garfield. Masonry work here at Harding. We were able to refinish the George Washington gym floor. 2 roofing projects at Harrison. The chiller replacement at Grant. A new phone system district-wide. And new Wi-Fi access points for all the school buildings. So what's new? I've got some playground equipment for Harrison that's going to get replaced. We're looking at chiller replacements for McKinley, Taft, Garfield, and Hayes. Asphalt resurfacing for Harding, for the bus lot and the student lot, and GW roof coating. And the focus areas this year, I'm going to look at a 3 to 5 year capital improvement plan. I want to update our facilities assessment and a technology replacement plan. And for transportation, so some of the achievements for transportation was we were able to purchase 4 new buses. About 70% of that cost was covered by a grant. Brett has been able to hire 4 new bus drivers, and 2 of those 4 we trained in-house. The other 2 were pretty much ready to go when they arrived. So what's new, we're going to look at purchasing another bus, and if anybody can find it, a 9-passenger van that we cannot find. Some of the focus areas for transportation, still looking at hiring more drivers. We want to hire a couple more aides so every bus has an aide. And he's looking at bus safety measures, and we're going to work on a bus replacement plan. For food service, some of the achievements, we hired an in-house food service supervisor, so no more of an outside source for that. Grant opened 2 a la carte rooms, increasing participation in the cafeteria, and they had a successful summer food program. You can see the meals served. 22 was $23,868, and this summer was $78,596. So what's new for 23 is they want to rebrand the Harding menu and participation for overall joyful experience. Looking into partnering with nonprofit organizations to expand breakfast program. And some of the focus areas is they want to increase breakfast and lunch participation across the district. Varying elementary menus with options to entice more students to participate. And then we always need to hire substitute cooks.
Hello, I'm Jen Sheridan, Director of Student Services. So Student Services has a lot within the department, so this is kind of bounces around a little bit. One of our biggest accomplishments from last year is we did improve our chronic absenteeism, like Greg said, from 56.6% to 44.2%. Chronic absenteeism is any absences, so even if a student is excused because of a doctor's appointment or something like that, that is included in this number. The state average for chronic absenteeism before COVID was 11%, and since COVID it's gotten as high as 30%. So we really aren't too far off the state average, but we definitely have more work to do. Another significant thing that we did is every building in our district decreased their chronic absenteeism. And out of the partner schools in the ESD of Central Ohio, we were the only district that had all buildings that were able to do that. In preschool, we increased our early childhood education eligible seats from 121 to 154. So this is the first time since COVID that we've gone over our 151 allotted seats. So that means we are getting full funding for our ECE program, and that is up this year to $4,250 per seat. So that's great. In special education, we received a meets requirements on the 2022 special education profile. Our next profile will come out in December, hopefully, so when they say it will come out. And then in our mental health provider land, we've increased from 2 to 3 school-based community providers. So we've historically had the Village Network and Ohio Guidestone. And this year we added RFS, which is fully at Taft right now, and we're going to look to see if we can expand that. What's new for 2023? We internally hired an intervention coach to directly support intervention specialists on evidence-based practices in the classrooms and also support our MTSS team. So this was a person that was an intervention specialist here for many years, and now she's able to help all the elementary buildings in our district. We are still working on uniquely filling gaps for unhired personnel, so that may look like we're doing virtual speech at Harrison for some of our students. We have APE from North Central ESC and a retired APE teacher coming back to support us. So just looking at different modes of service delivery to make sure we're meeting all their services. Preschool is really diving into the new early learning developmental standards, which were released by ODE this summer. And then, as I mentioned, increased mental health services, specifically with Taft Elementary with RFS. Focus areas this year is we're really trying to look at K-1 attendance and family engagement so they can understand why attendance matters. We noticed our K-1 attendance is quite poor. So we want to make sure we get those families early and they can understand why their students need to be in school. Something we've done is before Popcorn Festival this year, if the student had missed 2 or more days, ESPs went to every home and did a home visit to check in personally with those families to see what's going on and try to break down some barriers. We're putting out weekly positive communication regarding absenteeism, which goes out to all students on a monthly basis. We're also partnering with the ESCCO for an attendance liaison at the high school level 2 days a week to work on preventative measures. We looked at the data collectively. High school, which is probably the same in most districts, had the highest rate of chronic absenteeism. We are also partnering with Legal Aid and the Marion Education Coalition. They recently, with the commissioners, passed a proclamation to September is now going to be Attendance Awareness Month, so trying to get it countywide. In special education, we are going to look at an internal monitoring system to support IEP and ETR delivery of services and compliance. So we're working with the State Support Team 7 on developing that team. And then we are going to continue our collaboration with new and exciting mental health partners. As of today, we've had 57 school-based mental health referrals just for this school year.
Good evening, I'm John Smith. I'm the head principal at Garfield Elementary. This is my second year as the head principal and 5th overall. And our biggest achievements to start this year, I want to highlight our staff retention. We only hired 3 new hires last year, which was down from 10 the year previous, and 2 of those were pretty unique circumstances, so I thought that was a great win for our building. And then our other achievement that I wanted to highlight is our beginning of the year assessments. We are starting the year ahead of where we have been. Definitely higher than last year, but also compared to the last 5 years, our students are starting ahead of where they have been, which is a good pattern of growth to follow. So what's new this year for us? We have our teacher-based teams, our TBT meetings, and this year we kind of backed those down and we started fresh, and the teachers get to choose their own path. They're going to be completing short cycles of instructional implementation and being able to measure and reflect on those practices. And then eventually we're going to move to them being able to share those across the building and district, what they found to be most effective. We're also going to have a greater focus on our subgroup data for both academics and student behavior. And we are starting teacher buddy groups and more frequent PBIS assemblies so that we can celebrate our students who are all doing the right thing, but also get a lot more interaction between our grade levels, particularly younger grade levels working with older grade levels, and not always academic ways. Our big focus areas for the year are our teachers completing 5 or 6 of those full cycles that we mentioned earlier about instructional implementation, and then our building academic goals focusing on data are by the end of June 2024, we want to increase our performance index in ELA from 65.8 to 69.3, which equates to more students being on grade level in reading overall, which we are more ably ready to measure with other things like iReady. But then our math goal is by the end of June 2024, we want to increase our performance index from 54.2 to 58.8. And we get all of those measures in the summer after the school year is finished. So that's why it's June 2024. And I'm going to introduce Mr. Luke Carlisle, principal at George Washington Elementary.
Thank you, John. I'm Luke Carlisle, GW principal. I have to say, I was listening to John and he was talking about his second year, and it's also my second year at GW. And I have to say, last year was year 23 and the best year of my career. Love GW, have a fantastic team, really proud of the work that we've done in the last year, and excited about what's ahead. A couple of achievements, 4 stars for gap closing on the state report card, 3 stars for that gifted value added measure on the state report card, improved attendance data as well. I don't want to cause any trouble among my colleagues over here, but Little was highest in the district as far as attendance goes. Not quite pre-COVID numbers, but that's what we're aiming for, hopefully in the near future. What's new in 2023? Number Corner, our math coach has been working closely with our teachers to get that all rolled out, implemented. It was a lot of work, and they really poured themselves into it and did a great job. We've started Fun Fridays for part of our PBIS. Once a month, students who have had good behavior have the opportunity to be a part of a club. So there's lots of different choices. They join that club, and for about a half hour on a Friday afternoon, they get to have a fun club to be a part of. Students who are maybe not exhibiting those good behaviors will have an opportunity to sit down with myself or Ms. Schumacher, our assistant principal, or our ESB, and talk through how can we make better choices and really invest in them and use that time in that way. We have Prexy of the Month recognition. We just did this for the first time on Friday. We actually did it by video, and so it was engaging the students in a different way with this, and there was a great deal of excitement coming out of it. Students were commenting like, I saw you on the screen, and they were really excited. So I'm excited about kind of the community that is going to come, community building that's going to come from doing that in this new way. Some focus areas for this year. Our ELA and our math goals are aligned with our district goals with the performance index and closing the long-term gap. So it's just data points specific to GW, but the same language. And also just trying to continue to build community and culture. We have some great PTO volunteers. Geraldine Metz has been our PTO president for years. She's really invested in our community, has been wonderful. She just spearheaded a movie night on Friday. It was a great community event. So we hope to continue to do many of those types of things. I asked the kids to give me jokes for the morning announcements. You know, just they hear their joke on the announcements, it connects them with our school, and it brings some excitement and joy to our day. We say our GW pledge, I am GW proud and respectful, responsible, and kind every morning on the announcements, so we set ourselves and get ourselves started off on a positive. We have high expectations. We're hoping that this community building will build on one of those areas of achievement that we already had with the attendance. So I'm excited about the future of what we have in store for GW. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Mike Panamarzik, the Benjamin Harrison principal. Want to start out by thanking Superintendent Del Flora and Assistant Superintendent Kevin Hayner for giving me the opportunity to come back to Marion City Schools. Very blessed and grateful to have this opportunity and give back to the community I love. They had some very nice accomplishments last year. I can't take much credit for that, although I'd like to. 5 stars in the gap closing, 3 stars in achievement, 3 stars in progress, 81.495 on the performance index. 44% achieved advanced or accomplished out of our students, and we improved attendance by 1.8% from the previous year. And I think a real cool story is we had a 2nd grader score perfect on the OST math in 7 minutes. Just mind blown when I heard that. So what's new with Benjamin Harrison this year? New leadership with myself coming in. I took a lot of time to meet with the staff members to see what they needed and increase communication and then a more supportive culture. I met with 97% of the staff and just give them a lot of credit for the hard work that they did to prepare for this school year. We want to make sure we're sharing joy, so we're celebrating our staff, celebrating our students on a daily basis, making sure we're recognizing them, whether that's showing highlights of student work displayed in the hallways, the habitograms if they're out the building, and then doing positive calls to parents and guardians on their student success in our building. We've made a real big commitment to the leader and me. That was very important to our building. I'd understand the history. So some of the things we have going on right now, at least once a month, our student lighthouse team meets, our adult lighthouse team, meets. They got a bunch of rules throughout the building. We have student-led assemblies, student-led announcements. Different students go to different classes to do some PAX trainings. We got Christmas clearinghouse, student tours. At the end of the day, the lunchroom, they help clean the cafeteria. We're implementing safety patrol. Just a lot of good things that we're putting students in that leadership roles so that they understand the importance and they can grow in that role. With the adults in the building, been very impressed. We're doing something called habitgrams, where if a student gets recognized with one of the 8 habits, we print out a certificate, talk to them about them on the announcements, and if you come through Benjamin Harrison, they're posted everywhere in the classrooms, hallways. Currently, we're up to 230 of those, so I've spent a lot of time printing, and I apologize for all the color printing done, but I think it's been nice. They do a habit tally, so if they can catch 100 students showing habits in the classroom, we celebrate those on the announcements in 2. And one more thing I can say about Leader in Me, we have 8 staff members coming from Worcester City Schools Elementary to come visit. We're going to brainstorm. They're going to come join us for assembly and then see what we can learn from each other. So very excited for that opportunity to learn more and see what they're doing as well. When it comes to our focus this year, the biggest word that we could talk about is alignment. We want our district goals to align with our building goals, our building goals to align with our team goals, and our team goals to align with their personal growth plans. So we got a lot of feedback from both the Lighthouse team, building leadership team, and really wanted to make sure that we were following the pillars as well. So everybody's growth plans are very similar, but all holding each other accountable and done with fidelity. Trying to increase 3 points on the PI indicator for math, 2 points for the ELA indicator. We heard Greg talk about that in a couple other buildings, so we're following suit with that. We're trying to increase our MRA survey with the Leader in Me, both one that aligns with culture, one with leadership from 77 to 80, 74 to 80, and of course our last goal is attendance. We're really trying to get students in our building, and that means a lot of daily meetings between myself, assistant principal, ESP, house visits, and then on our one calls add information about why attendance matters and why we want them in the building. So a lot of great things going on in Harrison.
Good evening. Good evening. I'm Pam White. I'm the principal at Hayes. Last year I stood up here and I had a hard time presenting our slide. It was a crazy year that I had spent the year before. I took over Hayes last year. We had accomplishments, but it was hard to present. It wasn't presented in the way that the state would want us to present. So I had a vision. And my vision was some outside of the box thinking for education, but I implemented it. And the staff at Hayes and the students at Hayes rose to the occasion. And so now I can stand up here and I can say that we were able to accomplish 3 stars in our overall rating. We are one of the schools that meet state standards now. We met 4 stars in our gap closing, and this exceeded state standards. We rose to 3 stars in progress. We met student growth over their expectations. iReady growth. We really focused a lot last year on iReady growth. We gave the students the goals of meeting their stretch goals. And so last year we had 57% of our students meet the ELA goal in just their typical goal. We had 52% of our students in their typical goal meet math. However, like I said, we focused on our stretch goal. So 25% of our students overall met the ELA stretch goal, which means that they're moving ahead. They're closing that gap. And then 22% of our students met the math goal during the stretch, for their stretch goal. So they, like I said, rose to our occasion. Our teachers are cheerleaders for them, and that's showing in their education. Our attendance, we work hard at keeping our students in our building, so we did meet the indicator for the state, and we just got word 2 weeks ago that we won the PBIS Award, Silver Award for our recognition there. So we're pretty proud at Hayes, very proud. What's new in 2023? We did so well with our extension for the extension intervention time for ELA. We decided, well, I was asked by the teachers to extend it into our math because without our foundational skills, we can't meet Tier 1 instruction. So we extended our intervention extension time for math also. So that is going to be up and running next week. Our restorative practices. We focus a lot on making our students feel important in our building. We build that community. So we did a great job. We implemented community circles twice a day during that, each day last year, and that showed. Our students are excited to come to school. They come to school with smiles on their faces for the most part. I mean, we always have a few that's had a bad day, but we all do that. And so we're going to continue deepening our practices and restorative practices. We also departmentalized 5th grade this year so that we could focus on what our students need the most in 5th grade. What's our focus area for this year? We're going to strengthen the data-driven instruction. We have a data team for reading. We have a data team for math. We split our BLT, so we focus a lot of one BLT a month focuses on reading, one BLT a month focuses on our math instruction. So we take a look at our data. We also look at the data that we look at in BLMC, which feeds into our TBTs, which also feeds into our BLT. So we're really data-driven in order to make the students' experiences better at our school. We're going to strengthen our restorative practices. We had great success last year with that, and so this year we need to go deeper with that. We need to build community, not only with our students, but we need to build community with our parents. And so I've challenged the teachers this year to do that. And then we also need to continue deepening our knowledge of evidence-based strategies. So I've looked back through the years, and because I was the coach at Hayes, and we had talked about evidence-based strategies a lot. But we talk about them, we implement them, we document them, and then are they really looking at them again and focusing, how can these become better? And so that's what we're going to do this year. So, any questions? All right, thank you.
Hello, I'm Angie Pace. I am principal of McKinley Elementary School, and this is a little bit my nightmare. So, that being said, I am excited about my school. Last year at this time, I really just was kind of talking about all the stuff that Julie did last year, or the year before. So, I'm really proud of my teachers. We got 3 stars in gap closing, and that is a testament to the hard work of my teachers and my intervention specialists and my lit support and all of those people. We have improved attendance. We have, last year at this time, we had close to 30 kids on attendance plans, and as of this morning, we had 6. And I attribute that to my ESPs going out to houses this summer, making positive contacts with families, and just all of the stuff they put in place, including if a student misses 2 days in a row or 2 days in a week, then they have like a short little form they can fill out to get to my ESP, and then she goes out and meets with those families to get the ball rolling. New for 2023, we implemented second steps for SEL. This is something that Michelle and I talked a great deal with Taft about. It worked for them, so we thought, why not? It's tier 1 instruction that's research-based, and all the lessons align per grade level. So if we're talking about goal setting, kindergarten through 5th, we're working on goal setting. So that helps me have a focus for the week. When I do my announcements on Monday, I talk about the focus for the week and what we're going to be working on. Number corner, as you saw, is new for our all of our K through 5 classrooms. What I love about it is that I have been able to go into classrooms and listen to kids have deep and rich conversations about mathematical practices, about numbers and number sense and operations, and they don't even know they're doing it. So, and they're very engaged. When number corner is over, they're like, oh man,
and they go back to their seats. But for me, having been a math teacher in the district, it is amazing to watch kids have these kinds of conversations and really work on those foundational pieces that they need for the more advanced parts of math that are coming quickly their way. We have U-Fly intervention groups for reading. A few of my teachers piloted this program last year. Again, it's a research-based reading interventions to help close the gap in English language arts. Our goals are similar and in line with the 10% long-term gap closing for ELA and math, and then to increase or reduce our chronic absenteeism by 5%. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Matt Jacobs. I'm the principal at Taft Elementary. Some of our achievements from last year, we had 44% of students in green in the Spring iReady diagnostic for reading, which means that they are on grade level. CKLA implementation definitely helped solidify our Tier 1 reading, which it ultimately increased the reading tiered fidelity inventory. Our attendance improved for chronic absenteeism as it did throughout the district, but ours went from 61.5% to 47.5%. Greg hasn't given me all the numbers, but I think we're the biggest jump in the district, but that might be wrong. Restorative practices, Peace Room, Second Step are all things that we've done through our PBIS umbrella. Second Step, like Angie said, was a huge improvement on our SEL curriculum and having the building aligned. Teaching the same thing kindergarten through 5th grade is a huge benefit. We can talk to students about that. We know what they're learning in certain lessons, even though the actual lesson is different for a kindergartner than it is a 5th grader. The content is the same. What's new for this school year? Number corner implementation. If you haven't been to a building to watch that, I encourage you to. It is a wonderful curriculum, but it's nothing without our teachers. And our teachers have stepped up, opened their mind up, and I'm seeing amazing things every day in our classrooms with math. And that's desperately needed. The new way of thinking about math is now happening at Marion City, and it's happening at Taft Elementary. Intervention groups for Tier 2. Reading inside of the classroom. We're using U-Fly also for hitting the dyslexia requirement, but we're also kind of doing that for all of our students on a RIMP. And we're looking forward to seeing what the increases are for that. This year, building goals for reading. By the end of the year, Taft will increase the PI score from 59.9 to 63.9. Math, same idea. By the end of the year, we're going to increase our PI score from 44.9 to 50.4, and increasing our attendance by decreasing the chronic absenteeism by 5% to hit 42.5%. And we're doing a lot of different action steps for each of these goals. So if you want to learn more, I encourage you to reach out to me. I can talk for a long time about all the things that we are doing to reach these goals. And I just want to say that Taft Elementary is working hard and very much supported by the DSC and all the people behind me. So we really appreciate it. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Chris Saban, principal at Grant Middle School. Thanks for having me here tonight to share all the wonderful things that have happened at Grant over the past year. We are very proud to announce that we increased our overall rating to 3 stars to meet the state standards. We also increased our PI performance index from 55.2 to 60.6, so that's just about 10% overall on the increase. Also, we're proud of that. We exceeded growth expectations, so not only met but exceeded them. We listed 8th grade math first because they did not have that rating last year, but that group dialed it in and exceeded growth expectations in 8th grade English and 6th grade math. We seem to see that year after year they continue to do the great things, and our hope is that we can replicate their success to the other TBTs in the building. We also met our state standards in gap closing, and we reduced our staff turnover by about 30%. What's new in 2023? We have many new staff members, but also we want to make sure they are supported. Many of them are special education teachers, so thanks to the student services team behind us, making sure that they are supported and have what they need to be successful as an intervention specialist at Grant. We also adjusted our bell schedule quite a bit from previous years. So something that you've heard me talk about before is taking our big school and doing our best to make it as small as we can to have the personal touch with many of our interactions with students and staff. So last year you would have teachers of 6 to 7 teams sharing 150 kids. This year it's about 4 to 5 teachers sharing 100 kids or less to make sure they can connect with parents and students. Those of you that have visited and seen it, 6th grade classrooms, they're across the hall from each other, so our kids are not moving all around the building most of the day. So with the new bell schedule, only grades are kind of shifting at a time. President McKay was there for a visit, and I was like, oh yeah, that's actually an 8th grade transition happening right now, and it was quiet and really helps the building keep moving forward. Also, with our new schedule, our TBTs are all able to meet before school, so we don't have to deal with issues of staff getting pulled to sub or other things like that, and we can really focus on our TBTs in the morning before school starts. We have heard positive feedback about our new science curriculum, and also thankful because we have seen a lot of our facility upgrades really take flight at Grant, from the new parking lot that Jake mentioned, but also all of our new furniture and BenQs are just about all in at Grant. It's really nice to see our teachers utilizing them to enhance the curriculum. We have also housed the Grant Alternative Program back at Grant Middle School. And that has really given us the ability to better support our students and customize their day and really give them the support they need and transition them either back to Grant Middle School or help support them along their journey through Grant. And I wish I could add one more bullet point, but I submitted my slides before Thursday. But a signature that COVID, we're getting past things. We had a pep rally at a middle school last Thursday, so the quote from a 6th grader was, "I thought the gym was going to erupt." So we'll invite you guys to the winter one. They already had me say yes to it already. I'm not sure if I approved it yet, but it was very successful. Everyone had a blast. It was a great culture builder for us as a school. Our focus areas, so we have really shifted a lot of focus to reading labs and literacy intervention because it is a very important need to us. And currently we have about 80 students that are receiving Tier 2 and Tier 3 reading intervention support in addition to their normal Tier 1 instruction. So we have a good amount of students that are supported to really help support them because literacy is a priority for us. And also we have trained all of our intervention specialists to help implement our Tier 2 multi-sensory reading curriculum Sunday system, if you've heard of that. So we will have all of our intervention specialists also implementing reading groups at the start of Q2. Our focus as far as goals, we are aligned with the district, as everyone else mentioned, making sure that we increase our achievement in ELA and math, and also focusing on reducing suspensions because we know our students are better in the care of the adults at our building. We want to make sure that we have them there every day that we possibly can with us. Thank you. That's all I have.
Good evening, everyone. Before I begin my presentation, I would like to take a moment to thank Superintendent Olympia Della Flora, Assistant Superintendent Kevin Hayner, and our HR Director, Dr. Julie Kinney, for providing me with an opportunity to join the Marion City School District. Also, prior to getting into our great news, I want to take a moment to acknowledge the stewardship of Mrs. Jennifer Wellman. It's been a pleasure to work with her over these past 37 days. She has been very instrumental in giving me some heads up about community relationships as well as strengths here in the building and how to leverage those strengths. So as you can see, we're proud of the 4-star rating that we have in progress, in our progress indicator. But I really want to start off by talking about our overall rating here at the building, which is 3.5 stars. Again, much of this work, much of this success is attributed to Jen and her staff. Carrying on, 4-star rating in our gap closing, again, exceeding state standards, and then meeting our state standards in terms of graduation rates. What's new in the building? Obviously me. You heard me say I've been here in the district 37 days, so it's been an exciting transition. I am truly glad to be here. Also joining me, we have a handful of new staff members that bring energy, that bring a level of expertise and skill that all of our departments have been excited to embrace. And then also we are continuing to develop our school culture and climate. Some of the areas that we are focusing on this year are reducing chronic absenteeism rates. So one of the things that we're doing is we're strategically identifying our HQs, which is essentially homeroom, and those HQs that have low attendance rates for the days, we're reaching out to the teachers of those homerooms and asking them to get in contact with students that have been absent, but also using some of the staff that we have in our office to make calls. In addition to that, we're leveraging some of the relationships that we have here in Marion County, specifically with our juvenile justice system, as well as our friends at the Educational Service Center of Central Ohio. Next, we're focusing on establishing meaningful relationships between staff and students. We all know that students don't learn from people that they don't like or that they don't know. So for us, the crux of making some of the headway that we are aspiring to do is by focusing on those relationships. And last but certainly not least, enhancing the culture and climate of our learning community. That starts with reducing disruptive and distracting behaviors and developing and maintaining relationships. And part of that focus is placing an emphasis on PBIS. So our administrative team is placing an emphasis on recognizing students as well as staff and some of the work that they do that oftentimes gets overlooked here in a high school setting, and then also placing more of an emphasis on restorative practices, both as it pertains to those relationships from student to student and teacher to student. Thank you.
At this time, this concludes our State of the Schools report. I would just like to acknowledge and thank all of the administrators who took time to pull together their achievements and accomplishments to share this, not only with the board, but also with the community, as we know that a lot of our community members who are not here tonight, we hope that they will go back and review some of the highlights and things that we're working on. It is my hope that as superintendent, one of the things that you see is the alignment. You heard from several different schools and departments, but hopefully you heard some of those trending themes. That is one of our goals this year. One of the things that I've noticed since coming here was we had a lot of silos and people were doing great things, but everybody was doing these things solo. So one of the things that we talked about at our last DLT was this thing called collective efficacy, right? So this is how we work collectively into developing some of those same beliefs in what our students can do, what our staffs can do. And so we thank you for your time tonight.
And on behalf of the board, I thank Mrs. Del Flora and her team and all of our teachers and all of our staff for doing so much work this year. I've been so impressed when I go out into the buildings and meet our students and our teachers. You guys are doing a wonderful job. On a personal note, I'll miss you all next year. So continue the good work. I've been more proud of my district in the last year than in many years prior to this. And so I am thrilled for everything you guys are accomplishing, and I know you're going to do great things in the future. So I wanted to thank you all for the hard work. I loved all the presentations. I love meeting all of you. And with that being said, I'd like to have a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Call the roll, please. I know.
Mr. Ratliff?
Yes.
Mr. Weibling?
Yes.
Ms. Dyer?
Yes.
Mrs. McKay?
Yes. Okay, we are now adjourned. I wish you all safe travels back home. Prexy Pride is where it's at. Share the joy.